We are here this morning with Laura Jane Grace, notable for her work in Against Me and also as the solo artist. Thank you for joining us today, Laura Jane.
Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. All right. So you are going to be here in Milwaukee on Monday, May 2nd at the Rave. You have quite a collection of artists that you're doing. I think this is a short tour with and you are playing Anthony Green of Circa Survive and Seosin, Tim Kasher of Cursive, and then Mikey Erg of the Ergs, the Dopamines. He's played in Dirt Bike Annie and the Warriors as well. So that's quite a collection of musicians.
Yeah, Mikey's played in so many bands.
Well, yeah.
To name a few, yeah. And Tim Kasher, not only of Cursive, but also The Good Life,
Yep.
and has done a couple of solo records himself as well.
So how did this group come about to put together a tour or some shows?
It was Tim's idea actually, and Tim reached out to me. And originally, Tim had thought to ask Dave Bazan to do the tour,
Okay.
and it didn't work out with Dave Bazan. And I was like, we should ask Anthony Green. Something in my mind made me feel like Anthony bridged a gap, and I don't know if it's just like a word association thing where I was like, okay, Tim's in Cursive, Circa Survive. Circa kind of sounds like Cursive. Survive kind of has an energy like against me. So
Okay.
something in my brain just made me think that it worked. And I've never gotten a chance to tour with Anthony with any of his bands before. And he was really into the idea, and then it just all came together.
Oh,
And it's a full month of dates.
okay.
The Milwaukee show is only the second show, and it's, I think, the for all of us maybe the first like proper tour, like proper month-long tour that any of us have done since the pandemic.
Oh, really? Oh, wow. Excellent. Okay. Very cool. And so this is you all are solo artists in your own respects, but you are going to have I guess explain it sounds like this is going to be you have are going to have kind of a rotating cast of performances, and then you're going to be working with one another, performing with one another.
Well, it's like, like the structure is a traditional show in the
Okay.
sense that like Mikey Erg will open the show,
Okay.
and then Tim will play, and then
Okay.
I'll play, and then Anthony will play, and we each have our own defined like 45-minute sets. But
Okay.
within those sets, I think we're gonna play songs with each other. And then also my friend Alex Kearns, who plays drums in a band called Lemuria, he's coming and he's going to play drums with everybody. And then Megan, who plays cello in the band Cursive, she's going to come and she's going to play cello and she's going to play some bass too. Um, so it was just like, trying to approach doing a tour in a different way, in a more collaborative way. And selfishly for me, I just wanted to figure out a way to get Tim Kasher to play as many Good Life songs as possible. I'm like a huge fan of the album of the year The Good Life, and
Okay.
so I've been learning Good Life songs to make Tim play them again.
Oh, okay. So that you can sit in, hopefully maybe sit in with him and play songs, or
Yeah, I mean,
yeah.
hopefully.
Yeah.
We'll see what happens. We have like all next week. We're doing rehearsals here in Chicago, and
Okay.
I think that really everything will come together then. But I've
Okay.
just been preparing and
Right.
learning
What?
songs and then practicing my own songs.
No, it's so cool to see, when an artist who, like, from my point of view, an artist of your stature who is like kind of getting you know gets those fan eyes for other artists. That's really cool. When
Well, I think that like there's a connection too between me and Tim with the
Mhm.
Rave, um, on a tour that wasn't necessarily similar, but kind of had a similar idea behind it. Where the hope is that like I'm introducing my fan base to Tim and
Right.
to Anthony's music, and then vice versa.
Right.
Hopefully Anthony's fans are learning about me and learning about Tim, and then with Tim too. And similarly, over a decade ago, back in like 2007, me and Tim did a tour together that was Cursive, Against Me, and Mastodon. And we
Okay.
played at the Rave, although that was the one show on the tour where Mastodon ended up having to cancel because while everyone had partied a little too hard the night
Okay.
before, but I'm not going to name names of members, but one person had to tap out and was not able to play the show. But Against Me and Cursive still played the show.
Okay. You guys powered through.
Yeah, and that
Yeah.
was, again, like there couldn't be more different fan bases for a tour like
Oh,
that with
right.
Mastodon and Cursive and Against Me. And that's hopefully the idea here is that you're bringing three different or four different with Mikey, like four different fan bases together, and that makes more for a more eclectic show and just like a more diverse show.
No, absolutely. So you had mentioned that this is your first proper like month-long tour since the start of the pandemic. So that means that you've got an album and an EP worth of material that you're now actually getting able to promote on the road with Stay Alive and then at War with the Silverfish.
Yes.
Okay.
Both pandemic babies, if you will. Um, and it's cool. I mean, I definitely plan on playing everything from my catalog.
Okay. Mhm.
Against Me songs, solo songs, whatever. Um, I don't. There's nothing off limits, and I think it'll change up each night. I've been definitely asking online like what people want to hear, and it's usually like it is a challenge when it comes to approaching making a set list where I'll oftentimes look and be like, Jesus Christ, I have way too many songs, and to narrow that down into like a 45-minute set. Unfortunately, 45 minutes is usually like 14 songs,
Mhm.
15 songs, maybe tops. But I wish I could play all night.
Okay. And that with such a deep catalog, especially going back to all of the, going back into the Against Me catalog, is do you have I mean, do you have to go back and relearn some of those songs with so
Um,
with so many that you have?
I found that like my brain can hold the lyrics for maybe 60 songs at any
Okay.
given time. And then after that, I have to like trade out ones for
Okay.
others. But there are some songs that are just like so ingrained in my brain that I don't like it's a problem if I start to think about it. It's such
Oh,
muscle memory that like as long as I'm on autopilot, I know all the chords, I know all the words, but if I stop for a moment and I'm like, how does this verse go? Then it's gone.
okay. Yeah. Yeah, that makes that makes sense. So as I understand reading the press and the reviews on Stay Alive, you were writing that album. That album was originally, as you were writing it, was slated as an Against Me album that the pandemic turned into a solo album.
Yeah, well, Against Me, like we had been starting to work on a record, and
Mhm.
like I had been writing for a full year. All of 2019 I'd been writing, and we'd been playing shows throughout 2019. And then like we played a New Year's Eve show in Denver, and then in January we spent like a week in the studio, and then in February we spent a week in the studio, and then in March we spent another week in the studio, and then we went out on tour. And the first show on that tour, I actually opened up for Bernie Sanders at a rally in Michigan, and we got two or three shows into the tour, and then that was when everything hit, and we had to cancel, and everyone had to go home. But that being said, like we weren't ready to record a record,
Okay.
and it really like it just wasn't coming together. It wasn't working. Like the songs weren't vibing. At that point I had written like 35 songs, and it was still like the record wasn't there. So when the pandemic hit and I was like, and it was clear like that was a standstill and that all plans were off, I started realizing, well, I don't know when we're going to get back into a room together. And if it's a year, if it's 2 years, I doubt that it's a good idea to be like, hey, everybody, good to see you again. Remember these 30 songs that we were working on before the pandemic that not everyone was really feeling? Let's
Okay.
jump right back into those. Like, that just seemed like a bad idea. But I knew at the same time where I was like, like, I've got so many songs, like, there just has to be a record in here. And I liked the songs. So, like, I just kind of reapproached them and realized that if I like adjusted my scope, I could still make a record. And I have a spot here in Chicago, and I'm not too far from Steve Albini's studio, and realized that like it'd probably be a more reasonable ask of someone to be like, hey, I know there's a pandemic on, but if you're willing to work, like it would just be me. It wouldn't be a full
Right.
band. And Steve was into the idea. So I just booked a couple days and, went in by myself and just me and Steve, just tracked 14 songs, all analog, just me and an acoustic guitar. And I was really happy with the way it came out. And it was like a really surreal experience. Especially like, Steve Albini, he dresses every day in the same kind of jumpsuit and little beanie. And then we're both wearing face masks and keeping as much distance between us as
Mhm.
possible. Um, so it's strange because oftentimes, when you're in the studio, you're able to completely block out the outside world and pretend real life doesn't exist. But in those ways, like it was unavoidable to, like what was happening outside was omnipresent and still there
Right.
in the studio.
Yeah, and so then going into At War with the Silverfish, were those songs pulled from that original collection, or were those written with the direction of being like a solo album? And I guess is there a is there a way when you're writing songs, do you like kind of categorize them or think, well, this is going to be a Laura Jane Grace song and this is going to be an Against Me song, or is
Those
there a
songs were
different?
all written after,
Okay.
that was like all of the songs on At War with the Silverfish were like madness is setting in.
Oh,
I've been
okay.
lying like curled up in a fetal position on my floor alone for a month, and I'm like, I have to do something. This is getting really sad. So just as like a way to motivate myself, I started working on recordings myself
Okay.
here at home, um, and but to further answer your question, like there isn't necessarily like a change of hats or anything where
Mhm.
I don't like sit down and think I am going to write an Against Me song right
Right.
now. It's more just like I try to continually stay writing, and I'll bring songs to the band, and sometimes a song will work immediately and it's like
Hmm.
all there, effortless, and other times it takes a lot of work, and sometimes it doesn't work at all, but nonetheless I'll be like, well, it's still a song. I still wrote it, I still like
Right.
it, like, and I know I can make it work or whatever. So it just, songs kind of like find their home in that way.
Hmm.
But then also like I don't know, I'm not like precious about it in those ways where I don't think there's any reason why Against Me couldn't take a song that put out on a solo record and do a full band version and put it on a
Right.
record. That there's only the only limits that exist are the ones that you put on things. I like to just kind of keep it open in those ways.
No, yeah, absolutely. That's great. So you're gonna we're talking with Laura Jane Grace here this morning, who is going to be at the Rave on Monday, May 2nd, with Anthony Green, notable for his work in Circus Survive and Sales, and Tim Casher of Cursive and The Good Life, and then Mikey Erg of many, many bands, including the Ergs, the Warriors, and then also has been in Dirt Bike Annie and again many, many other bands. So you guys had mentioned, or you had mentioned that you're getting together, I guess this week, um, with this to start practicing with everybody, and this is going to be your first tour since the beginning of the pandemic. Um, and do you have any other? I guess have any other ideas about the shows? Have you been kind of going back and forth with them yet, or are you just going to work that out as you kind of prep for the tour?
I think it'll really come together as we get rolling,
Okay.
and also during rehearsals next
Right.
week. Um, but I'm hoping there's an element of it that's like riding a bike, where once you get going, you're like, oh yeah, I remember exactly how to do this, and it's just
Right.
all natural and it comes there. Like I strive to be the type of musician that can turn a corner on a dime, and like can think fast in the moment and adapt to someone else's idea. If someone like in the morning is like, hey, we should cover this song, I want to be the type of person that's like, yes, and can immediately do that. And that's, what I hope is the case with everybody on the tour, and what I think will happen.
Okay. Oh, that's that should make for a really cool, I mean, really cool experiences for the fans in the in the rooms as you're able to do that. And I guess even in that vein, then potentially putting together as the tour progresses, kind of feeling out how you're working together, and probably coming up with some, hopefully, or maybe on the ad hoc performances as you go through it, and get more and more comfortable with one another as you kind of get your, I guess, your road feet back underneath you.
Right. Yeah. I'm probably the member of the touring party who's going to be like, "Hey, we should pick up that hitchhiker and see if they know how to play an instrument. They could be in the band tonight." And everyone else will be talking me out of that idea. But I understand those concerns, given that there is still a virus going around.
Right.
But I don't know. I just want to like remain open to stuff like that. You know.
No, yeah, absolutely. So I think I've seen that you've played out since the beginning of the pandemic. Have you done like shows here and there, or is it
Yeah, I've been doing like 2 or 3 shows a month since
okay?
August of
Okay.
last year, and spread out like everywhere. I went out and I did two nights in Garwood, New Jersey, at this place Crossroads, and then
Okay.
I played this show at Four Seasons Total Landscaping Lawn Service in Philadelphia, which you may remember from that insane Rudy Giuliani press conference, and then played a show in Buffalo, played a show in Cleveland, played a show in St. Louis, played a show in Las Vegas, went down and did 2 nights in Tampa. Just kind of stuff that came up and seemed like it'd be unique and safe at the time. Like a couple of these shows were outdoor shows. The landscaping service show was an outdoor show, um, but just trying to like figure out how to do it considering the circumstances we're all in.
Okay. Well, we look forward to having you here in Milwaukee, and being the second show on your first tour, your first, I should say, official tour since the beginning of the pandemic. Laura Jane Grace is going to be joined with Anthony Green, Tim Kasher, and Mikey Erg at the Rave Monday night, May 2nd. Yeah, thanks again for joining us. We really appreciate the time. We're going to hear a couple more of your songs.
Awesome. I will say too that the very first song on Stay Alive is is a tribute and was inspired by the swimming pool in the
Oh,
basement of the Rave. So in particular, out of all the venues on this tour, I'm very excited to go there and sing that song.
very, very cool. We look forward to that. Thank you so much. We really appreciate it.
My pleasure.
Yeah,
Thanks.
thanks.